Right, let me just, I'll say a quick hi before I put my screen on. So I can see quite a few of you. It's lovely to see all your faces. It's really lovely to be here today. It's a shame I can't see you in person. I'd love to be there and meet you all in person, but this is the best we can do, so we will do it. So let me just share my first screen with you and then we'll get going. Right, fab. Yep, some of you have popped back up. That's brilliant. Right, so as I say, really, really nice to see you all. This talk today is something that I feel really passionately about, and it's something that hopefully I can guide you through a little bit. Getting back to exercise after a diagnosis of ovarian cancer is not easy, okay? And I've worked over the years with a lot of people in your position. So everybody's so different, and I've seen that so much through the years. But what I've really seen a lot of is how, with the right confidence and with the right level, everybody can get back to exercise to the extent that they can manage. Okay, so what I'd like to do today is give you confidence, inspire you a little bit to get moving and to enjoy exercise. Okay, now for some of you might think, oh my gosh, I've never enjoyed exercise, why would I enjoy it now? But hopefully I'll show you why and how. Okay, so yeah, so I'm Sally. I'm a cancer rehab physio. So I work in Yorkshire, live up in Yorkshire, and I treat people with any form of cancer and try and guide them through how to keep themselves going, how to keep themselves fit, well, and deal with issues as they come up. So hopefully I'll answer some of the questions that you've already posed. I've sort of tried to put a bit into the presentation, but there'll be more questions at the end. Okay, so we'll get going on why initially exercise is so important. So my first question to all of you, and this is for you just to have just a moment in just reflecting on for yourself. How has ovarian cancer affected you? It's a huge question. It's a huge question. And just take a little moment just to see what pops into your head. Okay, now there'll be so much. There'll be so much for all of you. I'm going to just take you down a few further questions that you might kind of have a bit of an association with, we'll see. So, do you find yourself easily exhausted or lacking energy? You can raise hands. Yeah, I thought so. Do you have difficulty relaxing or sleeping? Yeah. Has your balance and coordination been affected? Yeah. Do you feel weaker or stiffer in your muscles and joints? Are you experiencing shortness of breath? Hands go up before I even said it, I know. You're experiencing shortness of breath or feeling more breathless more often? Yeah. Are you struggling to get back to work or to manage tasks at home? Do you have new difficulties with bladder or bowels? Okay, so those questions are huge, aren't they? And actually, from the show of hands, from the people I can see on the screen, they're things that really associate with you. Yeah, I totally see that and get that a lot. Now, how do we use exercise to try and target some of those? That's the important question that we've got to answer today. And it's not a cure-all, obviously, but exercise, from my understanding, from my practice, from my learning of the literature, is something that can give you a bit of sense of control. So it's something that you can do for yourself and that you can work towards some of those areas that we've just thought about and trying to build back up some of those issues. Okay, so exercise, you know, is not just about the trainers, it's not about the lycra, it's not about that at all. What it's about is about movement. It's about moving over that cancer diagnosis and trying to use your movement as a way of helping yourself through some of those issues. Okay, So we'll have a little look in a bit more detail as to what exercise can be useful for, and go from there. So I'll work around in a sort of a clockwise direction around this. Now, the top one, improve your bone health. Now, I'm sure many of you will have issues with your bone health after having had a lot of cancer treatment. Now, exercise can be really useful at giving some weight bearing through the bones in order to try and prevent that bone loss that some of you might be struggling with. Again, not the cure-all at all, but definitely something to use as a tool in your toolbox. Okay, so those of you who know that you've got issues with bone density, you know, it's a really important one. Okay, coming down there, we've got reduce anxiety and depressive symptoms. And I think this is one of the biggest elements for me where exercise can have the most dramatic impact. Using exercise as a way of calming the body and lifting the body can be really powerful. Okay. The next one round, we've got increased muscle mass. Now, there is never a time that you can't, through exercise, do something for your muscles. Okay. Even on those days when you are absolutely exhausted, just tightening your muscles and letting them go, and tightening them and letting them go, is keeping the muscles going. Okay, so again, it's not the lycra. It doesn't have to be about the lycra and the trainers. It's about a little bit of what you can manage when you can manage. Okay, so muscle mass, yes, you can. Anybody can. Keep that in check. Keep building it. Okay, moving around to improve your bladder and bowel function. Now, there have been questions put through already on this one, and pelvic floor exercises are really, really important. Now, again, they won't change the world, but they can be really helpful if done right and done regularly, really helpful at helping you to kind of control any issues that may have come up through surgery or through deconditioning, or just generally through the effects of the cancer. So that's important. The next one, again, is another real crucial one. Improve your sleep and reduce fatigue. Now, I imagine you would all wish to be able to do that. That's a hugely important thing. And again, using exercise, and we'll come to this in more detail in a bit, but using exercise for fatigue particularly is really important. Okay, and we'll come to how you do that in a little bit. Now, reducing comorbidities. So again, with cancer treatment particularly, many of you may have experienced heart and lung, not necessarily complications, but almost, you know, your heart and lungs can potentially be influenced by some of your chemo treatments. And the exercise for building that sort of heart and lung volume up, again, really important for kind of almost preventing problems coming from that neck of the woods. Improving your quality of life, again, really, really important. Having that sense of control. You know, people often say when they come to me, you have so much done to you when you go through cancer treatment, that for you, having been able to do something for yourself in under your own steam, at your own pace, at your own time, can really give you that sense of, you know, improving your quality of life. And the last one, again, definitely really, really important, improving your balance. So again, with chemo, you might find that you've lost some sensation in your hands and your feet. You can't quite feel where you are quite as well. And that gives a lot of issues for a safety point of view and from an independence point of view. And again, improving your balance, which again, with simple exercises, you can keep a level on. Okay, so there we go. Right, now I've got some tips for you. And the first tip is very simple. And we'll go through all these tips and we'll see what we think. So the first one is avoid inactivity. Okay, so it sounds really obvious, but actually is really important to kind of keep in your mind. So move your body is the most simple and most useful thing I could say to any of you today. So deconditioning can occur really quickly, and it can have a real compounding, real build-up effect. The less you do, the less you're able to do. And you'll know this. I'm talking to people who know this. And almost the effect of the cancer itself is one thing, and that's the difficult journey that you go through. the added complications of inactivity on top of that can be really tricky. And as I say here, it can make recovery more difficult, and it can make the survival itself harder, and can give lifelong complications. So you've got a lot to deal with. You know, you've got the cancer, you've got the treatments. Inactivity in itself is something that can be part of that and can make things harder, but moving your body stops that. Okay, so some things you can change. This is the, you know, the great thing in life, isn't it? There are some things we can change, some things we can't change. Let's do the things we can. Okay, and it's that moving your body, trying to prevent that deconditioning, is the thing that you guys can do. Okay, you go with the cancer journey in terms of the treatment and what the cancer brings, but for what you can do, it's the moving of your body. Okay, so when it comes to where you guys are at, there will be lots of reasons why you might not be moving, and sometimes those things are really important to look at and to work out what they are, because that can help you to work out how to go forward. So is it pain that's stopping you? Is it stiffness? Is it fear? Is it fatigue? You know, all these things can have a really important part in stopping you from moving. And for you to try and understand which bit of those is stopping you will then help you to sort of say, okay, well, look, if it's pain, and I've popped down here, you know, see a physio, cancer rehab physio if you can, NHS physio, a nurse, GP, somebody who you can get a bit of a hold on as to, is this pain something I need to stop movement with, or can I change the way I move? And I think that's, again, a really, really important part for you to work through in your own minds as to what's stopping me moving. Am I afraid? Or does it hurt? Or am I just stiff? And if I'm just stiff, okay, well, I can probably get that going a bit. You know, using that to kind of get yourself working out your plan. Now, in terms of getting moving, short, regular sessions to start with, particularly. You know, particularly if you're going through chemo at the moment, particularly if you are still exhausted from another round of chemo, little and often. You know, you'll know it, you've been told it lots of times, but little and off is really important. Don't wait, you know, don't throw all your energy at a huge walk when you then can't go and do the washing up afterwards. Okay, you know it. You know, I see the nods, I know that one. Okay, tip 2, so get a functional assessment. Now, this slide is here in the very big hope that you guys could find a cancer rehab physio near you. Now, there are some around. If you can find them, brilliant. I'm a pink and steel physio. That's one type of cancer rehab physio. But go to your GP and see if you can find somebody. If you feel you need guidance with that pain or with that stiffness, go to somebody who can guide you, because actually you're all different. Everybody has such a different experience of cancer and cancer treatment, and your bodies will be so different from how they were, you know, even before everybody's bodies were different. You know, make sure that before you throw yourself at something, that you know where you're at and you had somebody check you out if you're worried about things. Okay. And make sure that you sort of almost check in on yourself as you start doing that exercise. Just check in on yourself each time and see what kind of effect you're having. Okay, tip 3, be proactive about doing things to decrease stress. Okay, now this is hard. So I'm going to read this because it's so important. I think there's no way to navigate a cancer diagnosis without a tremendous amount of stress. Absolute given. Much of the stress that goes along with that diagnosis is related to the uncertainty that accompanies it. Okay, and too much of that stress, you know, it leaves you absolutely battered. The things that we know through personal experience, through literature, through evidence that's been found, is that we know that exercise, we know that meditation and gardening, they help. Okay, and you'll know that, you'll know yourselves that you feel better after a bit of a walk, you feel better after, you know, getting out and getting going. Doing it outside is definitely a really important one as well. So connecting with nature, all these things that we know at our heart that really help us. So hopefully you can use that exercise to decrease that stress. And then really importantly, do it together. Okay, now hard at the minute from a lockdown point of view, but walking with somebody, again, you've got that accountability. If you say you're going to meet someone, you go, you do it. You have the good chat, you distract yourself. Together we're better. So very much from a kind of stress point of view and from an exercise point of view, get your friends on board, get your families on board. Okay, tip 4, prioritize exercise each week. Okay, now you will, I have no doubt, prioritize many things in your life. You'll prioritize your families, you'll prioritize jobs that need to be done, you'll prioritize everybody else, prioritize yourself as well as all those other things. It's really important, and a big part of that is exercise. So it's looking after yourself. Now, having the energy to do that is sometimes hard, and it's a little bit of a vicious circle, but making sure that you give yourself that time each day to exercise is really, really important for you. Really, really important for you. It's a medicine. So exercise is medicine. We know it helps with stress. We know it helps with quality of life and with sleep and with fatigue. We know those things. So it's really, really important. So how much to do? This is the next question. So it's recommended, I'm just going to say it, and you're all going to think, oh my giddy aunt, how do I do that? 150 minutes of moderate exercise, 150 minutes a week. Okay, so that's 30 minutes 5 times a week. Now, some of you, before all of this, would have been smashing that out. You'd have been doing that, but you may have now been struggling to do that. Some of you, you might be back up to that. And if you are, brilliant. If you're not, don't be hard on yourself at all. Okay, it's a question of doing what you can at the time. That is what's recommended, and that's what's a really good aim to have, but it won't be for everybody. Okay, but it is something to bear in mind. Now, in terms of what we call moderate exercise, it's where you're out for a walk, you can still have a chat, but you're feeling a bit puffed. Okay, now that the beauty of that description is that it's whatever level you're at. So that might be walking at 3 miles an hour, that might be walking at 1 mile an hour. Does not matter. The level is the same for you, that you can have a conversation, but you're still a little bit puffed. Okay, so really important. Now, the next thing makes me very excited. So the next bit is 2 to 3 resistance workouts a week. And this is the bit that I feel for you guys, and that's what I'll show you in the practical bit, is really, really useful. And it might be the bit that you're not doing at the minute. I think most of you probably will be trying the walks and getting out and doing the walking, particularly again in lockdown. It's been the one thing we can do. But resistance exercise is the next bit for you guys. Okay, and I'll come to it. And again, it's not lycra, it's not scary. Okay, so the other thing to say is that it needs to be fun, obviously. So it might be that it's not a walk. If you're really just not a big fan of walking, that's fine. You know, put on some music, have a dance in the kitchen, put on a Zumba video, anything that you enjoy, that you can do at your level. That's what we want. Okay. Right. Now, having then thought about getting going, is then a question of making sure that you're okay as you're doing it. All right. And this is really, really crucial. So you're often, what we're all like with sort of New Year's resolutions and things, we go at it, throw ourselves at it and think, oh my giddy aunt, have I just, what have I done to myself now? Listen to your body. So if you're getting pain, okay, if you're getting swelling, pins and needles, signs of infection, stiffness, check with somebody who knows, okay, and GP, nurse, physio, somebody that you trust and that will listen carefully. All right, so that's really, really important. And keep monitoring it, particularly blood counts. If you're having chemo, exercising is really important during chemo, really important, as long as it's at the right level, but keep checking in with your nurse and keep checking those blood counts. Okay, yeah, and the last thing I put on that one is be honest with yourself. If you're anything like a lot of the people I treat, they'll put a brave face on it, and that's fine to an extent, but don't go too brave. Okay, right, now this is the exciting bit, the resistance training. So when I talk resistance, here's my prop. It might only be a tin. Okay, this is enough resistance for some people. Okay, it might be a dumbbell. Okay, it might be some resistance band, and we're going to do these with the exercises. Okay, but these are the important bits. So using your strength is really important to stop that loss of muscle mass and to build your bone density. Okay, really also useful for fatigue. So you can use lots of different ways, and as I say, we'll go through those in a second, but it's also great for reducing your balance issues and falls risk, and helps you feel a lot better. Fatigue. Now, a lot of you waved at me when we said the fatigue one, and it's a huge issue. And again, exercising the right level at the right point is a useful tool. Okay, so resting is really important, not too much, but exercising is also really important. Okay, so that fatigue, which you'll all know about, that sort of emotional, mental, physical fatigue is so common. But if you can use particularly the strengthening exercises a couple of times a week, 2-3 times a week, you might find that it just helps you with that. Okay, so a good sleep routine, really important. Taking a couple of naps rather than one long one, and staying really active with your exercise. Now, as I've also said, making sure that you aren't doing exercise at the expense of being able to see your friends, being able to do the shopping, you know, manage your day, you know, plan your day as part of that. Celebrate your wins. This is really the beauty of exercise, I think, is that it gives you something you can be proud of, that you've done, that you've achieved. And if you set yourself the right goals, so don't set yourself running up and down Everest, but if you set yourself something that's realistic that you can achieve, you know, that might be for some people getting up and down the stairs. That might be standing up from the chair on your own. That might be walking to the shops. You know, whatever it is, at whatever stage you are, be proud of those goals that you achieve. You know, and you will find that if you set the goals at the right level, you will be able to achieve more than you think. Okay, often writing down that goal is really important. Again, it looks at you, put it on the fridge, you know, so that it looks at you and tells you, you know, you're going to do it. You're going to get up and down those stairs. And that can, you know, give you a huge boost. Okay, so I'm coming now to some of the bits that have been flagged up by people with questions, and some of the real specifics that you might have, you know, with the ovarian cancer diagnosis. Pelvic floor issues are very common, and that might for some people be a huge disability in the sense that you don't feel like you can leave the house because of it, and actually it's something that's more disabling than you might realize until it happens to you. Now, everybody should be doing their pelvic floor exercises, okay? But the important bit is that we don't overstrain it and work too hard. Now, I'm going to run through with you now, just in sitting as we are now, some how to do your pelvic floors. Most of you will have been taught this at some point in your lives, but it's really important to refresh our memories. If you have specifics of surgery and complications with your pelvic floor, then a women's health physio is really valuable, and they're amazing. The women's health physios out there are amazing. So get in contact with your GP and ask to see a women's health physio. They honestly will. They're well worth their weight in gold. The other thing before I teach you the pelvic floor is the Squeezy app, which is a really useful app to give you some feedback and to give you encouragement and give you techniques. Okay, so that's just an NHS free app that anybody can download. Okay, so we'll talk pelvic floor. If everyone sits nice and comfortably, we'll do a quick pelvic floor exercise. So get yourself set. So when you're doing your pelvic floor, I'll explain the bit we're going to work on. So if you think about your pelvic floor being a hammock, okay, with your pubic bone at the front and your coccyx at the back, okay, and its job is to support your internal organs, okay. Now, when you've had surgery in this area, it often is a struggle to get it going. Don't fight it, just go steady, okay. Now, what we're going to think about is that pelvic floor having two jobs. The first job is to stop yourself passing water, and the second job is to stop yourself passing wind, okay, or your bowel movement. And when you're doing this exercise, we're going to imagine that you're very gently stopping yourself, passing water and passing wind. Okay, so you're just drawing in and up. Okay, now I like to do it by using your breath, because by using your breath, you can get those muscles to be a little bit more active. So sitting up nice and tall, make sure you're nice and supported. You're going to have a big breath in. And then as you breathe out, you're just going to very gently lift up through that hammock. Just lift it one level, as if you're stopping yourself passing water and you're stopping yourself passing wind. Okay, and just holding it there. And you're just going to keep that very gentle hold. Now, keep breathing, keep listening as I talk. Just going to gently hold it for about 10 if we can. Now, you'll find that some of you think, oh my gosh, I have no idea whether it's lifting or not. Okay, don't worry. Just by thinking about it is a good start. Okay, now everybody let it go, and then we'll go again. So again, big breath in, and breathing out and drawing up and in, and just holding it there. Okay, and just take it nice and steady. Now, as you're holding, keep holding as I talk. It wants to be about a 30% effort. So it's not a hold it really tight. About 30%, just keep it nice and steady and just hold that contraction. And then let it go. Right. Okay, that's the basics. Okay, as I say, go to the Squeezy app if you need more than that, or your Women's Health Physio. The other way the pelvic floor works is when it needs to stop a sudden pressure, so coughs and sneezes. Now, the way we get that going is by trying to do a quick on, off, on, off. So as well as doing a nice steady hold every day, a couple of times a day, you're going to do an on, off, harder, because you've got to get a bit of speed in your contraction. You'll feel sluggish and you'll feel weird, but just trying to switch it on, let it go, switch it on, let it go. Okay, got? Okay, so give it a try. And as I say, for everybody, really, really, really important, but try that Squeezy app as well. Right, next one, stoma care when exercising. Now, again, there have been some questions that have come in on this one, and it's a really important part of exercising is the care that you'll take over your stoma. Now, it's absolutely possible to exercise to a really good level with a bag. Okay, I've seen people run marathons. I've seen people swim, you know, across lakes. You can do more than you would think, but having said that, you need to be really steady as you build up. That's the absolute key, is be really steady. Now, exercise is essential. You know, it's scary to start with. I think, I imagine it would be scary to start exercising with it. But as long as you start really low and steady and build up and keep in contact with somebody, a stoma nurse who knows what they're talking about, then you should, you know, gradually be able to build. Wearing your support garment is really important when you're exercising. And the really important part is not straining your tummy muscles. So say goodbye to sit-ups. Just don't bother. Just don't bother. Say goodbye to, when you're laid down, sitting yourself up in bed. Okay, roll onto your side instead. Okay, avoid anything that really crunches your tummy. Now, that's not to say we don't want to work your tummy muscles. We do. And the exercise that I'm going to get you doing in a minute is really useful. Okay, but just avoid the crunches, you know, and if you're going to an exercise class, make sure you do tell your instructor. Okay, so that's a really important one, but we'll go through that in a second. Right, exercising for lymphedema, again, really, really important. The amount that you do has to be very graded. Okay, so you don't want to leap on in there and start lifting heavy weights, but having said that, exercise, and particularly progressive strength training, is really important for lymphedema. Same with the stoma care. It's about starting small. It's common sense. It's about starting small and building up gradually. And again, keeping in touch with your lymphedema specialists, let them know what you're doing, and get their guidance as you go. Okay. Do wear support garments when you're doing your exercises, and make sure afterwards you give it some rest up. So if it's your legs, pop your legs up the wall, pop your legs up, you know, give them some rest afterwards. That's also really, really important. There are some, I'm not going to go through them now, but there's some brilliant exercises on cancerresearchuk.org on how to clear your lymph systems. Okay, it's simple. It's about breathing first, and then it's about squeezing and relaxing your muscles, using your muscles to pump away that lymph. Okay, so really, really important. So if you've got any sort of exercise, if you want to follow an exercise program, I would go to Cancer Research UK and use their program there. It's brilliant. Okay, right. So to summarize this little bit, which I have chatted away too much on, but I think it's important. So getting going, we've got to make it fun. Okay. In whatever way you find exercise fun, you might be one of those people that really just loves exercise and anything's fun, but you also might be one of those people that actually really doesn't get it, and that's fine. Find your own way of making it fun, through music, through, you know, through friends, through whatever it be, but just, you know, get yourselves moving. Find your friends and do it with them. Know why you're doing it. This is really important, I think. Know that you have some control over this. This is something you have control over, okay? Tell people what you're doing so they encourage you on it, and make sure you feel safe, okay? So those are really, really, really important points. Now, having said all of that, we're going to take up the challenge and we're going to do some exercises. So it's going to be more demonstration. Try things out with me and give them a go. What I'm going to do is not really going to be an exercise session in the sense that we all do the same thing. What I'm going to do is show you progressions, show you ideas of how you can do certain things at different levels. Okay, so I'm going to do a couple for the upper limb, a couple for the core, a couple for your lower limb, and then a little bit of cardio. All right, so we will start with the lower limb. Right, so I'm just going to move myself, so bear with me 1 second. All right, come to my exercise spot. All right, you should be able to see me there, hopefully. Let me just double check. Right, can you all see me? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, brilliant. Right, now the first thing we're going to do is a squat. Okay, now there are loads of different varieties. I'm going to start with number one, the easiest option, which is to do it against a wall. Now, give this a try, see how you feel, and then I'll show you the next level. Okay, so find a wall that you can stand by, okay, and I'll talk you through. So you're going to have your backs to the wall, or a door, anything's fine, a wall, a door, anything. And then have your feet away from the wall, about hip distance apart. Your knees are going to face forwards, and your back is going to be lovely and straight, okay? And then you're very steadily and slowly, and you may find you need to move your feet further away. You're very slowly going to slide your way down and then push your way back up. Okay, so just take it steady. Your knees want to stay parallel. You're going to come down as far as you comfortably can and then come back up. And you're going to go down and then you're going to come back up. Okay, now this time come down and just hold it there and feel that in your thighs. Now that is your resistance training for your thighs. You can feel it there. Right, so that is level one. And as you can see, you can use the wall quite a lot. So you can do that one as many times as you feel you comfortably can, right? I'll show you the next level and you can see what you think. So the next level is in standing away from the wall with your feet just wider than shoulder width, pointing out. Okay, and you're going to squat down. So your bottom's going to go back. You're going to squat down with your bottom back, your back nice and straight, and your hands forwards. And then you're going to come back up. Bam. And you're going to go down again. And then come back up. Right. Just another couple. I'm going to come and have another look. How are we all doing? Fabulous. Absolutely brilliant. Right. Now you can see the difference. And it may be that some days the wall slide is for you and other days that one's for you. Okay. Some days you might find if you're feeling amazing that you grab your tins. Okay. So if you feel that you're feeling great, you can squat with a weight, okay? It could be a tin, it could be a water bottle, okay? If you're feeling brilliant, get some dumbbells. You know, borrow some dumbbells from a friend. Start with 1 kilogram, see how you feel, and then build up, okay? But looking at you doing that, yeah, water bottle, fantastic. That's brilliant. That's exactly it. So just use something around you that you feel can give you a little bit of extra weight, okay? That's the first one. Right, okay. Now, we'll do, while we're stood, we're going to use something again like this, okay? And this is really simple. Okay, we're going to do a bicep curl. So we're going to do just a very simple bend and straighten of your elbow. Now, on a day when you're feeling exhausted, you can do it sitting down, you can do it lying down. It can be a tin of beans, a bottle of water, a dumbbell, anything that gets that muscle going, okay? So just really work it into that muscle, okay? Does that feel okay for people? Yeah, good. All right, now, when you're doing all of these, particularly if you've got anything going on tummy-wise with stomas and things, just keep your tummy muscles drawn in and up and down, okay? Now, next one. Now, I'd like to introduce you all, some of you might know, to the TheraBand, okay? It's a really useful tool. You can buy them online in, oh, look, I can see someone's got one. Hey, Alex, brilliant. Okay, so with the TheraBand, you can adjust the tension. You can get different weights of them, so you can buy them as a set of easy, medium, hard. It's worth that sort of thing. I'm going to show you the bicep curl again with a TheraBand, okay? So just so you've got an idea, you're just going to have it under your foot, and your arm stays down by your side, and you just come up and down. Okay, so as simple as that. All right. Now, the big question that I get asked a lot is, how many should I do? It's how long's a piece of string. Depends on how you feel that day. Depends on what you did the day before. Go with what feels comfy. You want to feel that you're pushing it as far as you feel you can, because it's about 3 times a week you're doing this, so it's not every day. So you want to push it, but not so much that you exhaust yourself, okay? But don't, you know, if a tin of beans feels dead easy, get something heavier. You know, do work it. Don't be afraid of these muscles. They can do something. If lymphedema-wise is an issue, start with a tin of beans and build up, okay? Right, so that's TheraBand for your arms. I'd like to, how are we doing for time? Oh, we are so short on time. Right, I'm going to show you one more exercise before we have some questions, because I do want to have your questions. This is a really useful exercise for your tummy, okay? And it's called the plank. You'll have seen people do it. We're going to do it at different levels, okay? Because everybody can do the plank, just not everyone can do the full plank. So we're going to start against the wall, and we're going to have your hands at shoulder height against the wall, feet out behind you, and you're just going to lean in to the wall with your elbows bent a little bit. Okay, you're just going to hold it there. Now, for some people, that's enough, just that lean in. You keep your back lovely and strong and secure, okay, and just hold that position. You might find you turn it into a bit of a press up at the same time. Both are really useful, okay? So just holding it there. Now, if you know that that's easy, your next progression is to come down onto your knees and to have the weight bearing going through your arms. So you've got a lovely straight back, and that you're just leaning into your hands here, okay? Now, you don't want to let your back sag, and you don't want to let your shoulders collapse. You're pushing up through your shoulders here. All right? You just want to come over a quick check. Do people feel, if you're getting down onto the floor is hard, do it against the wall. Yeah, brilliant. Now, your next progression is to take your knees back and your feet up so that you're sort of a longer distance from your hands to your knees. So that's then holding it in that position. Okay, now the trick here is again to keep your back nice and straight, nice and firm. If you feel like you're absolutely top dollar, you would come into that position onto your feet. But in reality, for most people to start with, on your knees is plenty. Okay, so that's that one there. All right. Okay. That's just a couple of ideas. So in terms of strength, play around with it. Use your TheraBand, use some weights, have a try at that plank. Now, in terms of, I've run out of time, I was going to do some cardiovascular with you, but what I think is more important is that we do some questions. So what I wanted to do is have a look through some of the questions we've already been sent. Oh, right, core with the stoma, exactly. So that exercise where we've just done the plank is a really nice one from a stoma point of view. I think when you're building your core with a stoma, what you have to imagine is that you want to keep your muscles still, okay? I don't want you to kind of draw them forwards because that's what's going to put the pressure through and maybe give you hernias and things like that. If you can keep a really steady tummy and a steady back, then you're much more likely to be secure. So something like that plank against the wall is a really good start to care with a stoma. Other things, I would encourage you to have a look at Pilates. Have you tried Pilates, Catherine?
No, I go to the yoga class, but I haven't tried with the group, but I haven't tried Pilates. But I found this week's yoga class quite difficult on my stomach.
Yeah, it is. It's a real fine balancing act, isn't it? I would, if you go to the NHS website, there's a really good beginners Pilates session, and I would give that a try and see how you feel. I would avoid, if they have anything in that though that's with the crunches, I would avoid those bits, but anything where you're staying really steady, I would do. The other thing you could try, what I'll do, is it all right if I can send a link to people after this? I'll send you a link to a couple of videos that I've done of deep tummy exercises, which are just on YouTube, that you'll be able to find, that you might be able to give a go to as well. But you're very right to sort of stop and not do the things that are sore, but don't be afraid to kind of just have a go with the static stuff. So anything that you're stable with is the thing to go with. Okay, yeah, so the hernia with a stoma, support, your best bet is your support bandages, your support wear. In terms of the hernia, if they're not going to do anything for you with it, just keep it really well supported with your garment. And I would do lots of walking for now, anything just to kind of get you going but without too much strain on your tummy. And then lots of your pelvic floor and your deep tummy exercises. Yeah, is that you, Helen, there? Yeah, it's a tricky one. It's a really tricky one, but I think don't stop, but just, modify what you're doing a little bit.
Yeah, Helen, I feel like I've got a little hernia coming, and I'm doing really well with the walking and the other exercises, but then I seem to have this huge stomach. So it's sort of a bit depressing, really.
Yeah, it is. That's really hard, isn't it? When you feel like you're actually putting in all the effort. The one thing that I would say is really useful is your upper limb lightweight resistance work, because you will then have to activate your tummy when you do that. But as long as you're not lifting anything, so start with your tins or a water bottle and, do some of that and up above your head, out to the side, so that you're having to stabilize your middle, but without, having to move it too much, is another way to go with the stoma.
Thank you.
Okay, no worries. So Alex, my walking seems to be wearing out. Should I try to increase or do more stretches? Okay, in terms of making you tired, Alex, is it making you tired? Is that what you mean? You're walking, right? So your best bet is to do things like those squats. Okay, so ways that you can build your strength, but without challenging the fatigue element so much. So squats are one. Sit to stand is another strengthening exercise, and the bottom step is another really good one. So I would, for you, Alex, and anybody else that again feels that they've just not got the oomph, is this 3 times a week thing of, it'll probably be 10 minutes to start with max, of just doing some pure strength work on your legs. So I would stick with a squat, a sit to stand. So I would stand, sit, okay. Have a little rest in between, and then maybe go to the bottom step and do some ups and downs. Now, you might not find all 3 you can do in one go. You might find you do one of those one day and one another day. But just building that power is what would be really, really useful. Is that all right, Alex? But keep going, because, you know, it's not easy. But actually, the walking itself is brilliant, but it doesn't always build the strength enough. And that's where the strength element comes in. That might give you that bit more power. Is that all right? Yeah. Okay. Now, somebody had asked about the lymphatic drainage, which is why I put that reference into Cancer Research. So do have a look if it was somebody's lower legs they were thinking about with the lymph drainage. Have a look on Cancer Research UK. Really, really useful information on there. Okay, now someone's asked, is it safe to start running and swimming again after surgery? Now, very much depending on what you've had, very, very much. After surgery, I would, from that point of view, was there anybody here that asked that in terms of? No, it might be somebody who's going to watch it later. If it's you and you're out there about swimming and running, find yourself a physio, go to your GP and see if you can get yourself a referral to a physio, because that's a really important one. If you've got that in your sight as to something you want to do, hopefully it'll be doable, and it will just be a question of getting the right strength before you do it. Okay. Oh yeah, someone did ask for people with stomas as well, other kinds of exercise because they don't want to go swimming. Find something fun, dancing, you know, something like that, bit of Zumba, that kind of thing could be really useful, you know, something that's really fun. Or step classes. I run a step class for people, and actually that works really well from a kind of an exercise point of view. Someone's asked about stiff joints after treatment, so I assume that's after chemo. Neck and shoulders, it's a really common one, and what I would get in the routine of doing is shoulder rolls. Okay, and you can do them during chemo. So do your shoulder rolls, which I then turn into some full arm circles, and then some good neck movements. So that would be the basics. On top of that, if there's, I don't know who it is that's asking this one, but on top of that, I would do some upper body strengthening. So I'd get out your tins, because the stronger you are on your shoulders, the more they'll be able to cope with that, with the chemo. So just some shoulder presses, some bicep curls, that kind of thing would be really useful. Yeah, now somebody also asked about going back to exercise after a radical hysterectomy. And I think this is one of the biggest questions that I'm sure a lot of people would have. At what point do you do things? And this brings me back to accessing help. Now, it would have been the case pre-COVID that you probably would have been more able to access the NHS physios and rehab support. That seems to be quite tricky at the minute. If you're struggling, use the nurses that are available, your GPs that are available. Also, from a pink and steel point of view, so I'm what's called a pink and steel physio, which is, so we're cancer rehab physios. We're across the country. So if you look us up, there are ways of accessing potential sort of, I mean, often it's through private practice, which isn't necessarily ideal for everyone at all. But if you look us up, you can maybe find somebody local to you. From that point of view as well, we do run cancer rehab classes on Zoom. And actually, we, as a charity, we offer 10 free rehab classes to anyone with a cancer diagnosis. So again, have a look on the Pink and Steel website and see if there's anyone local to you that might be, you might be able to access things. There's no other questions. What I will do is I will get you some resources that people will be able to access by way of some ideas of different exercises that you can have a go at. But be brave, give it a try. You know, have a go, and you could always get in touch with me through Target Ovarian Cancer. You know, I'm very passionate about this, and I feel it's really important that people get the information they need. So if you need information, I can send you in the direction of different things. So yes, I hope that's all right. All right, so yes, that's me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sally. Thank you for a wonderful session, and thank you to everyone who's joined us and made it a really lovely event. So I'll just close the session with a couple of points. So we'll send you some more information about the support that we can offer, including our yoga and relaxation classes that happen every week. We do 2 classes a week at the moment. And also I will speak with Sally and get those resources for you as well, so we can follow up with those. And also a feedback form, because we always love to hear what you think and want to make our digital events and support exactly what you need them to be. So yeah, if you would like any more opportunities to speak to others affected by ovarian cancer and to experience more of our digital events, we'd recommend joining the ovarian cancer community if you're not already a member. So we can include that in the email. And just to remember, if you have any further questions or you'd just like to have a chat, our support line is available. So you can call us on 020 7923 5475. Thank you again, Sally.
That's brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you. So lovely to see you all. Honestly, it's so lovely to see so many smiling faces. And go for it. Just, grab the bull by the horns or whatever. Whatever the expression is. Yeah.
Okay. All right then. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.